Well guys, the initial goal for today was to come out here to Green Bay and do a little bit of shivering for some walleyes. When we came out here, the weatherman lied like he always does when it comes to fishing, and we encountered some pretty big waves, and basically what we were trying to do is use live scope and try to pick out fish on a negative day and get those fish to bite. Well, the problem with live scope and big waves is it gets a little bit difficult to read and be able to find those fish. So we didn't want to botch a day of filming for you guys. We wanted to bring you a good video still, so we thought, why not teach you guys a little bit about what we were going to do today? And especially me personally, I'm new to this technique. I've learned from people like Max Wilson and Cody, who's out here as well, on how to do this. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and we'll tell you guys exactly how to shiver for big walleyes in the fall. So before we get started, what we need to do is introduce the lure that we're using to all of you. This is the Moonshine Lures Shiver Minnow. Now, for those of you who are familiar with this style lure, you might think it looks like a jig and wrap from Rapala. This one's a little bit different. It has a different shape and also works a little bit different when it's ripped off the bottom, which is the technique that we're going to show you today. So this is a lead-based bait. This is all lead poured, and then it's got a clear fin here on the back. That clear fin is the magic behind this lure. Basically what it does is every time you rip it, this causes an erratic darting action down on the bottom. And what we're trying to do here on the Bay of Green Bay is imitate gobies. Gobies are a primary forage for walleyes out in the Great Lakes, especially since they've really taken over as an invasive species. And this little guy right here on the bottom really brings those big walleyes in, imitating that goby. Now, when it comes to learning a new technique, it's critical to understand the rod and the reel and the line that you need to make that technique successful. If you have too heavy a line, too light a line, the wrong action rod, all of your effort will be futile because it won't work properly and you won't be able to catch fish. So let's jump into the type of rod that we like to use when we're going out shivering for big walleyes. Now, the big thing to pay attention to when you're going out shivering is having a rod that has enough backbone to make the lure do what it's supposed to. So for us, what we like to use is anywhere between a 6-foot 9-inch all the way up to a 7-foot medium extra fast rod. Now what medium is the power, okay? That means that this blank has enough backbone and enough power to be able to rip that bait up off the bottom. It's not gonna flex too much. If it would flex too much, the bait wouldn't hop high like it's supposed to. It would just do a little baby hop. That baby hop is definitely not gonna trigger those big walleyes into biting. So medium, extra fast. Now what does extra fast mean? Well, extra fast determines the bend of the tip of your rod and how quick that tip bend meets the backbone of your rod. So extra fast means that you're gonna have a soft tip, but it's very quickly going to run into the backbone of that rod, making sure you dig the hooks into those big walleyes. They have a very bony mouth, so if you don't stick it to them, you're gonna lose that fish. Now, when it comes to your reel, you wanna make sure that you have something that's adequate and has enough line uptake to be able to keep up with these fish when you hook them. Anytime you're doing a technique that requires ripping, when that fish bites, you have to be able to pick up your slack line or you're gonna lose them every time. That's where the Carbon X or Honor XT come into play. The Honor XT 3000 or the Carbon X 3000 are perfect reels for doing this. You can even step it down to a 2000, but what you're gonna find is with that 3000, you're gonna have just a little bit more line uptake and it's gonna keep those fish pinned when you set the hook. One more thing you really want to pay attention to when it comes to your reel is having a quality carbon drag system. The triple disc carbon drag in both the Carbon X and the Honor XT offer a nice, smooth, uniform drag, meaning when that fish decides to head shake or decides to run, that drag is going to do its job and it's going to keep that fish pinned on that lure. So when it comes to shivering, covering water is really the name of the game. When you have an amazing technology like live scope, it definitely helps you narrow that down. But if you're not using live scope, you might be out there on a flat or a rock pile or an underwater island, and what you have to do is cover water. So you want to make a long enough cast to get out there, maybe 60, 70 feet, really bomb that lure out there. You're gonna let it come to a settle on the bottom. It usually does it very quickly because this is a very heavy lead lure. And all you're gonna do is reel up until you feel the tension on the bottom. You're gonna give it a nice hard snap. Now the key here is we're not doing hops, we're not going like this. We're not doing lifts, we're not going like this, but we are giving that lure a nice solid snap up off the bottom. And you're gonna feel it come to settle to the bottom every time. And every time it does that, you're gonna snap it back off the bottom. So basically what you're getting is a nice erratic up, down, up, down, up, down. And that up, down is what triggers those walleyes into biting. Now, the big thing, guys, is making sure you jig all the way back to the boat. I know I've seen it, and Cody, I'm sure you've seen it. you'll get right below the boat and you'll go to rip and there might be a fish right beneath you. So just work it all the way back to the boat before you go ahead and you make your next cast. And what I like to do is, what I call it is slicing the pie. So you might start here and your next cast, you'll go another 10 feet over here, another 10 feet over here. And now if you have this structure underwater here, you can slice that structure up. And sometimes you really have to hit them right on the head to get them to bite. So that's a good way to make sure that you're actually covering water and putting your lure in front of the face of as many big walleyes as you can. Another thing that you really want to make sure that you have dialed in when you're going out fishing, which will greatly increase your chances of hooking up with a big walleye on the Great Lakes, is knowing when to use which color based on whether it's sunny or cloudy, overcast, whatever that might be. So when it comes to color, you'll see this one has a little bit of a holographic kind of a foil look in that gold area. This is a bait that you want to use in a day where there's a little bit more sun, because that sunlight's going to reflect off this holographic area. It's going to create flash in the water, just like a natural bait fish. Now, when it comes to a cloudy or overcast day, you might want something like this one because it's got a matte finish, meaning there's no shimmer, there's no shine. You just have a little bit of flake in here to show that it has some scales. But other than that, it has no foil and it's not gonna have that flash in the water. So it's gonna look a lot more natural on an overcast day. Well guys, not every day is a great fishing day, but every day is a great day to learn. I hope this video about shivering for big Great Lakes walleyes helps you go out and catch them all on your own. Make sure you grab a Carbon X 3000, a nice medium extra fast rod, tie on a Shiver Minnow, and go out there on the Great Lakes and whack them up. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Head on over, check us out on Instagram, and hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you on the water next time.